Well, looky here. Oh, it's good to see each and every one of our Mishpachah tonight. And I didn't get to say hello to David Ray. He came in after I came over here, and Martin Fulton. And oh, you guys are talking about the new intro. Yes, I worked on that. I didn't get it quite like I wanted it, so expect maybe a little bit different next week. I'll work on that, and I'm learning how to do some more things, and that's the name of the game, is learn how to do the better, more attractive things, and people say that they enjoy that better. And actually, if you see a good setup and a good intro put together, then you have more confidence that you're maybe going to hear something worth hearing as well. So all of that together is work that we do, and we do in much prayer, and actually more than prayer, communion with Abba Father Yahweh. Well, I'm going to do something different, and I Candace is saying I missed the intro. That's okay, Candace. You'll see it next week, and it's probably going to be better next week, because I've got a couple of things I'm going to do to touch up, and I was having some popping and clicking in my intro before, and I decided that if I was going to re-record, that I would do that and upgrade at the same time, and make it overall better. Well, I have something that I'm going to do tonight that you would normally find me doing, if I can find what. Oh, there it is. Okay, if I can find everything. Okay. Um, I want to talk to you about personal relationship with Yahweh. Now, let me get my throat cleared. Um, Everybody's time spent with Abba, I know, is maybe a little bit different, and you have to spend the time with Abba a way that that you feel right. And I just feel right just being with him. He's my companion. He's my friend, and I love him, and he loves me, and I think that he enjoys my company almost as much as I enjoy his company. And I talk to him about regular things, and of course, people say, well, does he talk back? Well, sometimes he does, yes. Uh, Usually he doesn't talk back in a way that I can hear him, but he brings things to my ruach and says things to me in startling ways sometimes. And this little story is one of those that I'm going to tell you about, because I was simply a little bit amazed myself that things went the way that they did. Well, I was talking to Abba as usual yesterday. It was before I started my studies. And I said, Abba, tell me a joke. I really did. I got that bold. I said, Abba, tell me a joke. He said, okay. This guy walks into a bar. I say, yes, go on. He said, that's it. I said, I don't, I don't get it. He says, he walks into a bar. He never walks out. I said, ouch. That's a scary joke. Please tell me a funny joke. He said, okay. This monkey walks up to this elephant, and the monkey is snickering. He says, hey, Mr. Elephant, where are you going? Snickering. And the elephant says, just around here, eating grass and foliage and the leaves off the trees that I can reach. And the monkey giggles again. He says, then why do you need that big old trunk? And he giggles. The elephant just says, And he grabs that monkey with his big old trunk, and he just slings that monkey as far as he can sling him, and said, because sometimes I want to send somebody else on a trip with my trunk. So I laughed and I said, well, that's pretty funny. Thank you. And believe it or not, he said, I've got one more for you if you like. I said, absolutely. And he said, this lion and bear were walking down the road together. And the lion said, say, Mr. Bear, have you ever heard of that fellow that lives around here called Daweed? The bear said, yeah, I've heard of him. The lion says, are you afraid of him? The bear said, no. And the lion said emphatically, he said, why not? The bear said, when I heard what happened to my cousin Bernie the bear that tangled with that fellow, I swore I was going to quit eating lamb forever. I decided to get easier pickings. Like that monkey that elephant just threw about 50 yards. You want to share? Okay. Well, you might say, well, Brother Ken, those are silly jokes, but I would tell silly jokes. Yes, Abba would tell silly jokes because, you know, I'm a silly person. I'm just silly. That's my personality. Some people don't like silly people, and of course they probably wouldn't like me. They might be nice enough to not tell me I don't like silly people, but you know, never mind. I'm silly because it seems like being a little bit silly always helps other people, and it gets me along in a good mood with everybody around me, and people get around me get in a good mood too by being silly. So if Abba was going to tell me the perfect joke, what would it be? It would be silly jokes. And I know you've never heard those jokes before because I've never spoken them on air. And I never heard those jokes before when Abba told me. Now, I did that, and this is why. Abba had put that on my heart to ask him that, because he wanted me to share with you how to spend time with him. We don't always just spend time with Abba in prayer, and I mean, we can't walk around with our eyes closed praying, but we need to pray without ceasing. That's what the Apostle Shaul said, pray without ceasing. And spend time with Abba without ceasing. He is a friend that you need by your side always, every second of the day. And he don't want you to have a relationship where, you know, you're always going around and always, you know, looking over your shoulders because Abba is there, and he wants you to talk to him. He wants you to pray to him as well. But he also wants you to talk to him. And he wants to talk to you. If you will learn to follow the Ruach HaKodesh, you will be able to learn how to hear what Abba is saying to you. You might not hear it with your ear. Sometimes you might hear it with your ear also. I have heard it with my ear, and I've heard it with my heart. I've heard it in my Ruach, and I've heard it through the scripture, because sometimes when I face a certain situation, Abba just gives a scripture just like that. It pops into my mind. And I couldn't even have thought of it that fast. So he gave it to me to show me what I was facing. Today, I had to make a decision. I'm going to share this with you because he just laid it on my heart. It's something that happened today. I had to make a decision. there is a truck, and I have been talking with my son about changing vehicles because my car is a 2012 model and it's starting to get a little bit old. And he said, "Well, you know, we got this truck out here, Daddy, that needs fixing, but you could probably get it cheap for the condition it's in right now, and then we can fix it up and you'll have a nice truck to drive." And I started looking at the truck and the details, and well, um, I said, "Son, I'm going to have to pray about it." And when I started praying about it, Abba showed me, he says, "Well, the truck is the same model as your car. So why do you need a truck?" And I said, "Well, I need to have a truck so I can carry my boat and go fishing." He said, "Okay, how many times did you fish this year?" I said, "Well, I haven't fished this year yet, but I love to fish. I'm planning on it." He said, "Yeah. Um, if you spend $4,000 on that truck, how much you going to have to spend to fix it?" I said, "I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 thousand more dollars." He said, "Well, what if you just take the 4,000 you're going to spend on that truck and make everything perfect on your car, even paint if you want to?" He said, "And my car is still driving well and running good." So his answer was no. And he didn't tell me no and not give me a reason. Sometimes he tells me no and he doesn't give me a reason, but today he told me no and gave me a good reason. And after he reasoned with me, I see how silly it was for me even to consider buying that truck that's wrecked, that needs to be repaired, and may never be back to normal, when I have a normal car that Abba had given me from the very beginning that still runs and drives great. It never fails to crank. It runs good. It doesn't skip or miss. It's a 2012 model, but that's not that old. Not nearly as old as I am. Oh, can't imagine trying to drive a vehicle that's as old as I am. So don't hop on my back, anybody. I can't carry you anywhere. I'll break down very, very quickly. Okay. Well, Moki Girl saying, "I'll drive over to Alabama with my 2002 Subaru and we can put the boat on the roof rack." Okay, yeah, that sounds good. Well, maybe it don't sound that good because my boat is on a trailer and it's not a big boat. It's a smaller boat, but it's too big to pick up by hand. So it would cave in your roof rack. Then you'd be mad at me, Moki Girl. Oh, well, anyway, I have to get on with the lesson tonight, the scriptures. I was talking to you guys, and okay, there we go. All right, let's transition. And I have got an apology to make tonight, so I'll do that as well. And, it's an apology that was an unintended best thing or bad thing that I did. It wasn't really a bad thing I did. Nobody knew that though because they didn't understand. So I'm going to apologize tonight if I get this on my screen. I mentioned last week how women can outlast men in speaking. If I ended there, the same thing would happen tonight that happened last week. But I was thinking of it in a scientific way. I wasn't thinking about women being blabbers or something like that. Men are blabbers just as much as women. And it was not a charge against women. Women speakers seem to outlast men speakers. And I'm not talking about all men, I'm not talking about all women. But on the average, the woman's voice is easier on the vocal cords because the voice is higher pitched and it's a whole lot less harsh on the vocal cords. And so that's why men have more difficulty speaking on the average than the woman speaker would have. because his voice is raspier and it breaks down his vocal cords. And that is a problem that I have on a regular basis. And I have no bad intentions to our female members of our mishpachah. And if I said I love all the women of our mishpachah, that might raise eyebrows. So I won't. I don't want to say that, but I just simply say I love all of our mishpachah, male and female, and I love each and every one of you. And I'm not a respecter of persons. But anyway, having said that and done that, now I feel better, and I'm sure that the women in our mishpachah actually feel better that I grabbed this from the live chat that I saw following. I didn't know this until I read the live chat the next day at the middle of the day. And so I wanted to make sure I corrected that tonight. Now, before we go into reading the word, we want to go to Abba Father Yahweh in a sincere word of prayer. Abba Father, we come before you with all our hearts, all our mind, all our soul, and all our strength. We praise and worship you. We thank you for the opportunity that you have given each and every one of us to be here together in this mishpachah, sharing your word, sharing your truth, and sharing your light and your love. Father, we're so grateful for this entire mishpachah. And we ask, Father, that you continue to lead and guide us. Shine your light upon our paths that we might see your word and your truth. And, Father, learn more and more about you day by day. And we praise you and worship you for this opportunity. And we give you all praise through Yeshua HaMashiach, in the name above all names, Yahweh our Elohim, Yahweh Echad. And all the mishpachah said, Amen. Now, I have been talking long enough. My voice is already starting to crack a little bit. And I have talked quite a bit today as well. So, get a good long sip of apple juice. Okay. I have still not mastered the shofar. I'm still having problems. I may have to, I can blow it one note, but I can't blow the two notes. I just can't get a hold of that. It's going from and changing the vibration because it's the first note you blow is very low for this small shofar. It's very, very low note for this small shofar. And the next note is high, and it's also very high in this little shofar. So if I try to go one note to the next, I always just close off my air passage and not say, I don't get the second note out at all. So this is more difficult than I imagined, but Abba willing, I'll get it, and then we'll have some shofar blast from that. In the meantime, and there's a shofar blast that you can actually hear, and I hope to be able to do that soon. Okay, chapter 7 of the book of Marcos. And the Pharisees and some of the scribes assembled to him, having come from Jerusalem, and seeing some of his taught ones eat bread with defiled, that is, unwashed hands, they found fault. Well, naturally they would. For the Pharisees and all the Yehudim do not eat unless they wash their hands thoroughly, holding fast the tradition of the elders, and coming from the marketplace. They do not eat unless they wash. And there are many other traditions which they have received and hold fast, the washing of cups and utensils and copper vessels and couches. These are mats or beds they use to recline at the table to eat. I thought that was odd at the beginning. Where did I go? Okay. Way up here. Okay. It just ran. It just took off running. But um, I thought copper vessels, utensils, cups. Yeah, I can understand that, washing cups. And couches. They wash their couches? And I thought, well, maybe that's a different thing. It's not really a couch. But no, these are mats or beds they use to recline at the table to eat. And so they wash those mats. And it's not more of a cloth thing. It is more of a like a bamboo thing as far as I understand. Then the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, why do your taught ones not walk according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with unwashed hands? Okay, let me make a point. I wash my hands before I eat. But usually, before I get to eat, I am working with my hands with something dirty, and I need to wash my hands. And now I know that it's not what goes into the mouth that defiles a man, but it's what comes out of a man's mouth that defiles him. But I also know about germs. They didn't really know about germs back in those days, so they weren't washing their hands to get rid of germs. They were washing their hands because of tradition. You see what I'm saying? And they put their tradition before men. And their traditions were more important than men. More important than Yahweh, because they put their traditions before Yahweh as well. And Yeshua answering said to them, well did Yeshayahu prophesy concerning you hypocrites, as it has been written, these people respect me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. And in vain do they worship me, teaching the commands of men. Boy, he really let them have it, didn't he? Can you imagine being across from someone telling you that? Yeah. Forsaking the command of Elohim, you hold fast the tradition of men. And he said to them, well do you set aside the command of Elohim in order to guard your tradition. For Moshe said, respect your father and your mother. And he who curses father or mother, let him be put to death. But you say, if a man says to his father or mother, whatever profit you might have received from me is korban, that is, a gift. You no longer let him do any matter at all for his father or his mother, nullifying the word of Elohim through your tradition which you have handed down, and many such traditions you do. Now, I'll explain to you the word here is Aramaic, korban. It means a gift or an offering, and it's pronounced korbani. And I'll make a note that there should be a yod at the end of this word, making the meaning personal. My gift. Okay, so you understand that. And calling the crowd to him, he said to them, hear me, everyone, and understand. There is no matter that enters a man from outside which is able to defile him, but is what comes out of him that defiles the man. If anyone has ears to hear, let him hear. And he went from the crowd into a house, and his taught ones asked him concerning the parable. And he said to them, are you also without understanding? Do you not perceive that whatever enters a man from outside is unable to defile him? But it does not enter into his heart, but his stomach, and is eliminated, thus purging all the foods. And he said, what comes out of a man is what comes out of a man, that defiles a man. For from within, out of the heart of men, proceed evil reasonings, adulterings, whorings, murders, thefts, greedy desires, wickednesses, deceit, indecency, an evil eye, blasphemy, pride, foolishness. All these wicked matters come from within and defile a man. And rising up from there, he went to the borders of Sor and Sidon, and entering into a house, he wished no one to know it, but it was impossible to be hidden. They tracked him down. He was already, and that's why he was telling people, don't go out and publish this, but sometimes he did publish it because it was for a particular area that he was going to that needed publication. But for a woman whose young daughter had an unclean spirit heard about him, and she came and fell at his feet. Now the woman was a Greek, Syro-Phoenician by birth, and she kept asking him to cast the demon out of her daughter. And Yeshua said to her, "Let the children be satisfied first, for it is not good to take the children's bread and throw it to the little dogs." But she answering said to him, "Yea, master, for even the little dogs under the table eat from the children's crumbs." And he said to her, "Because of this word, go. The demon has gone out of your daughter." And it was just that quick, just that simple. And having come into her house, she found the demon gone out and her daughter lying on the bed. And again, going out from the borders of Sor and Sidon, he came to the Sea of Galilee through the midst of the borders of Decapolis. And they brought to him, who was it at Decapolis just last week or week before last? Remember, it was the man that was filled with demons, the legion of demons that Yeshua sent into the swine. And he was the one living in Decapolis. And they brought to him one who was deaf and spoke with difficulty, and they begged him to lay his hand upon him. And taking him from the crowd, he put his fingers in his ears, and having spit, he touched his tongue. And looking up to the Shamaim, he sighed and said to him, "Ephatha," that is, be open. And as you might would have guessed, this word is Aramaic and is spelled Aleph Tau Pei Tau Kuf and pronounced I Patach. The simple meaning is open. Yeshua was so simple. He did things so simply. And immediately his ears were opened, and the binding of his tongue was loosed, and he was speaking plainly. And he ordered them that they should say it to no one, but the more he ordered them, the more they published it. Maybe he told them that because he knew they couldn't be quiet. And they were immeasurably astonished, saying, "He has done all well. He makes even the deaf to hear and the dumb to speak." Praise Abba, Father Yahweh. Oh, take a sip here. Oh, how is everything, guys? Seems like everything's A-OK in the chat. Looks like you guys are having fun. Yeah. Well, I'm having fun too. This word is absolutely incredible. I mean, it's incredible means unbelievable. No, it's incredibly wonderful, unbelievably wonderful. I love the scriptures, and I particularly love the Gospels because of the life of Yeshua. In those days, the crowd being very great and not having any to eat, Yeshua called his taught ones near and said to them, "I have compassion on the crowd, for they have now been with me 3 days and do not have food to eat." Imagine if you went to some city somewhere and a minister got up and started speaking, and he spoke all day and didn't stop until night. The next morning, he got up and spoke all day and didn't stop until night. The next morning he got up and spoke again all day. How many of you would have stayed there about 3 or maybe 4 hours and said, "Phew, this guy's full of hot air. I'm getting out of here." But yet, those people stayed right there with him. 3 days they stayed with him without eating. It was Yeshua. He had an attraction that just can't be explained. He said, I have compassion on the crowd, for they have been with me 3 days and do not have food to eat. And if I dismiss them unfed to their home, they shall faint on the way, for some of them have come from far. And his taught ones answered him, how shall anyone be able to feed these people with bread here in the desert? And he asked them, how many loaves do you have? And they said, 7. And he commanded the crowd to sit down on the ground. And taking the 7 loaves, giving thanks, he broke them and gave them to his taught ones to set before them. And they set them before the crowd. And they had a few small fish. And having blessed, he said to set them also before them. And they ate and were satisfied. And they picked up 7 large baskets of broken pieces. Does this surprise you? No, we've heard the story before. But it would be surprising if I'd heard it for the first time. And those eating were about 4,000. And he dismissed them, and immediately, entering into the boat with his taught ones, he came up to the parts of Dalmanutha. And the Pharisees came out and began to dispute with him, seeking from him a sign from the Shamaim, trying him. And sighing deeply in his ruach, he said, why does this generation seek a sign? Truly I say to you, no sign shall be given to this generation. And leaving them, again entering into the boat, he went away to the other side. And they had forgotten to take bread, and they did not have more than 1 loaf with them in the boat. And he was warning them, saying, mind, beware of the leaven of the Pharisees, and of the leaven of Herodes. And they were reasoning with one another, saying, is it because we have no bread? And Yeshua, being aware of it, said to them, why do you reason because you have no bread? Do you not yet perceive nor understand? Is your heart still hardened? Having eyes, do you not see? And having ears, do you not hear? And do you not remember? When I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many baskets filled with broken pieces did you pick up? They said to him, 12. And when I broke the 7, okay. When I broke the 7 for the 4,000, how many large baskets filled with broken pieces did you pick up? And they said, 7. And he said to them, how do you not understand? And he came to Bethsaida, and they brought a blind man to him, and begged him to touch him. And taking the blind man by the hand, he led him out of the village. And having spit on his eyes, laying hands on him, he asked him, do you see at all? And he looked up and said, I see men like trees walking. Then he placed, of course, obviously this is somebody who was able to see before but went blind. Then he placed his hand on his eyes again and made him look up, and he was restored and saw all clearly. And he sent him away to his home, saying, do not go into the village. And Yeshua and his taught ones went out to the village of Caesarea Philippi, and on the way he asked his taught ones, saying to them, who do men say I am? And they said to him, Yochanan the Immerser, and others, Eliyahu, but others one of the prophets. And he asked them, and you, who do you say I am? And Kepha, answering, said to him, you are the Messiah. And he warned them that they should not speak to no one about him. And he began to teach them that the Son of Adam has to suffer much and be rejected by the elders and chief priests and the scribes, and be killed, and after 3 days to rise again. Even though he told them, it just didn't sink in. They couldn't really understand what he was saying. But that was going to be something for them to learn in the near future. And it's something that, because they didn't understand it this time, they would understand and know it better later. And he was speaking to them, speaking about this openly. Excuse me. Then Kepha, taking him aside, began to rebuke him. Oh, bad idea. And turning round and seeing his taught ones, he rebuked Kepha, saying, get behind me, Satan. And I don't know if he said Satan there, or if he said adversary, or if he said the word for adversary, which would be Satan, because Satan is not a name in this particular situation. Now, I know that they capitalized that, but even if Satan was the name, I wouldn't capitalize his name because he's not important enough for capitalization. I think I've mentioned that before to some of you. For your thoughts are not those of Elohim, he's speaking to Peter, or to Kepha, but those of men. And calling near the crowd with his taught ones, he said to them, whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake and follow me. Now, I want to make a point. In other scriptures, instead of the Hallelujah scriptures and the ISR, it says, take up his cross. Now, what would be the point of him telling people here at this time to take up their cross? Because he wasn't yet crucified. And the fact of the matter is, he was never crucified. He was impaled on a stake. He was nailed to one stake, his feet at the bottom and his hands and arms at the top. And that's how he was impaled. And they call it impalement because it was a post. There are other types of impalement that I will not discuss right now. You can look it up on the internet if you want to. There are different types of impalement. Usually impalement actually went into the body. And that's as much as I'm going to say about that, because I said enough embarrassing stuff this past week already. Okay. So, he said, whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his stake. Pull up his tent peg. Oh, that's cute. Pull up his tent peg and follow me. In other words, he was saying, leave this place. Bring your home with you and follow me wherever I go, and there make your home wherever I go. And that was great. I said, for whoever desires to save his life shall lose it, but whoever loses his life for the sake of me and the good news, he shall save it. For what shall it profit a man if he gains all the world and loses his own life? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his life? For whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinning generation, of him the son of Adam also shall be ashamed when he comes in the esteem of his Father with the Kodesh messengers. Chapter 9. And we are doing quite well. Maybe we're going to be able to, for the first time, to finish what I put up that we were going to read. Oh, that's good. It's apple juice. I've got it just right, and I put it in the freezer before before the live stream, and let it not freeze, but let it really get almost cold enough to freeze. And I like it that way, especially when it's hot in summertime. It's hot in here, and it's probably, I don't know, it's probably 81, between 81 and 85 degrees in here right now. And you might say, oh, Brother Ken, how are you standing that? Well, I can stand it because Abba gives me the ability to stand it. And if I turn my air conditioner on and I start talking to you, you're going to hear not a quality sound. It sounds pretty bad, right? So I turn my air conditioner off and keep it off, and that way the sound is better. And I prefer the quality of the sound than the coolness of my body. Okay, chapter 9. And he said to them, truly I say to you, that there are some standing here who shall not taste of death at all until they see the reign of Elohim having come in power. Now, this is a place where so many different denominations, yeah, it messed up my hair, didn't it? It blew on my head and messed up my hair. Okay. But so many different denominations take this and run with it, and they try to find this and try to find that. My goodness, they just get so all out of whack. And they're trying to say, well, since what actually is that this verse shouldn't be in the 9th chapter. This verse should be the last verse of the last chapter. But if you go back and put it with the last chapter, it don't make sense there either. The truth of the matter is, he is preparing to this. He said this to them, and 6 days later, Yeshua took Kepha and Yaakov. I mean, it directly follows this. Okay, the one that wrote this said, okay, now I'm going to tell them. And after 6 days, Yeshua took Kepha and Yaakov and Yochanan and led them up on a high mountain alone by themselves. And he was transformed before them. Now, I want to explain to you, if in case you don't know, what transformed is. He was transformed into I don't want to say the word glorified. It's the wonderful body, like the body of Adam and Hawa before they sinned. A body that is eternal. He was transformed them before them. Of course, he came back to the body that he had taken on as an earthly vessel. But he was transformed before them on that mountain. And his garments became glittering, exceedingly white, like snow, such as no launderer on earth is able to whiten. And there appeared to them Eliyahu with Moshe, and while they were talking with Yeshua. And Kepha, responding, said to Yeshua, Rabbi, it is good for us to be here, and let us make 3 booths, one for you, one for Moshe, and one for Eliyahu, because he did not know what to say, for they were exceedingly afraid. They were just, a little bit shook up. They didn't know what to expect. And there came a cloud overshadowing them, and a voice came out of the cloud saying, This is my son, the beloved. Hear him. And suddenly looking around, they saw no longer anyone with them, but only Yeshua. Now, before we go into anything further, I want to show you. He says, truly I say to you that there are some standing here who shall not taste of death at all until they see the reign of Elohim having come in power. Kepha, Yaakov, and Yochanan saw just that, the reign of Elohim. That's the way he's going to be. When he comes and he reigns, that's exactly what he's going to be like. So he wanted, for some reason, he wanted those three to see him like that, and he wanted it to be shared in the Gospels. He wanted it to be known among men what he's going to be like. And it is going to be awesome and wonderful when he returns. And his garments will be like light. That's the only way I can picture it. His garments are like light. So, what did I get to? Okay, right here. Okay. And as they were coming down from the mountain, he ordered them not to relate to anyone what they saw, till the son of Adam had risen from the dead. And they kept this matter to themselves, debating what the rising from the dead meant. Oh, you say they could understand him being changed back there and understand him saying, don't mention it to anybody, but they didn't understand what he meant by saying, till the son of Adam had risen from the dead. And they really just couldn't get it in their mind that he was telling them he was going to die. And they couldn't see that. And probably, even if they had begun to understand it, they immediately told themselves, no, he's not going to die. Even if the Ruach was compelling them that way. And they asked him, saying, why do the scribes say that Eliyahu has to come first? And he said to them, Eliyahu, indeed, having come first, restores all matters. And how is it been written concerning the son of Adam, that he is to suffer much and be despised? But I say to you that even Eliyahu has come, and they did to him whatever they wished, as it has been written of him. And he's speaking there of Yochanan the immerser. And coming to the taught ones, he saw a large crowd around them, and the scribes disputing with them. And immediately, when all the crowd saw him, they were greatly astonished, and running near greeted him. And he asked the scribes, what are you disputing with them? And one of the crowd answering said, Teacher, I brought you my son, who has a dumb spirit. And wherever he seizes him, he throws him down, and he foams at the mouth and gnashes his teeth, and he wastes away. And I spoke to your taught ones that they should cast him out, but they were not able. And he answered and said, O unbelieving in generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I put up with you? Bring him to me. So they brought him to him. And when he saw him, immediately the spirit threw him into convulsions. And falling down on the ground, he rolled about, foaming at the mouth. And he asked his father, how long has he been like this? And he said, from childhood. And he often has thrown himself both into the fire and into the water to destroy him. But if at all possible for you, you have compassion on us and help us. And Yeshua said to him, if you are able to believe, all is possible to him who believes. And I love this. And immediately the father of the child cried out with tears, says, I believe, Master, help my unbelief. That's the kind of faith I have sometimes. I believe, Father, help my unbelief. And when Yeshua saw that a crowd came running together, he rebuked the unclean spirit, saying to him, "You deaf and dumb spirit, I order you, come out of him, and never again enter into him." Crying out and convulsing him much, it came out of him, and he became as one dead, so that many said that he was dead. But Yeshua, taking him by the hand, lifted him up, and he arose. And when he came into a house, his taught ones asked him separately, "Why were we unable to cast him out?" And he said to them, "It is impossible for this kind to come out except through prayer and fasting." And going from there, they passed through Galilee, and he did not wish anyone to know, for he was teaching his taught ones. And they said to him, "The son of Adam is being," and he said to them, "The son of Adam is being delivered into the hands of men, and they shall kill him, and having been killed, he shall rise the third day." And if he said that to you, like he just did, actually, in essence, do you understand him? You do, don't you? But they did not understand the word, and they were afraid to ask him. And they came to Nahum, that's Capernaum. And having come into the house, he asked them, "What was it you disputed among yourselves on the way?" And they were silent, for on the way they had disputed with one another who was the greatest. Okay. And sitting down, he called the 12 and said to them, "If anyone wishes to be first, he shall be last of all and servant of all." And he took a little child and set him in their midst, and taking him in his arms, he said to them, "Whoever receives one of such little children in my name receives me, and whoever receives me receives not me, but the one who sent me." And Yochanan said to him, "Teacher, we saw someone who does not follow us, casting out demons in your name, and we forbade him because he does not follow us." And Yeshua said, "Do not forbid him, for no one who works a miracle in my name is able to readily speak evil of me." I want you to hear this and listen to it. What I want you to do is, after I read this to you tonight, I want you to study it tomorrow. And some of you may have already studied it, knowing that we were going to go over this tonight, and you wanted to be prepared. But study it if you haven't studied it already. For he who is not against us is for us. And let's look at this, and I want to point out something that will give you understanding. They said, "Teacher, we saw someone who does not follow us casting out demons in your name." It was in the name of Yeshua. "And we forbade him because he does not follow us." And Yeshua said, "Do not forbid him. For no one who works a miracle in my name is able to readily speak evil of me." Why? Because that person has to believe. That person has to truly believe. And you can pray for somebody in the name of Yeshua. You don't have to pray for somebody in the name of Yahweh. The name of Yahweh is Yeshua. The name of Yeshua is Yahweh. They are the same. Their name belongs each to the other. They are one, Echad, more than we can even explain. And they share the same Ruach, though. Ruach HaKodesh, because the one and the two are the three are the one. I would like to see the look on the faces of some people, some different people, once in a while, when they finally understand that. Can you imagine the face when they finally understand that? I think that's exactly how I looked when I said, oh man, this is deep. Oh. But it's an amazing thing to discover and to understand. For whoever gives you a cup of water to drink in my name, because you are of Messiah, truly I say to you, he shall by no means lose his reward. And whoever causes one of these little ones to believe in me, who believe in me, to stumble, it is better for him if a millstone were hung about his neck and he were thrown into the sea. And I used to think he means one of the children. No, he says those who believe in him. And he calls them little ones because they're like his little ones. They're like his children in that manner of speaking. Whoever causes someone who believes in him to stumble, it's better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. You don't want to make another individual that believes in Yeshua stumble ever at all. And if you make your hand, if you make your hand, and if your hand makes you stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life crippled than having two hands to go into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. And if your foot makes you stumble, cut it off. It is better for you to enter into life crippled than having 2 feet to be thrown into Gehenna, into the unquenchable fire, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. And if your eye makes you stumble, pluck it out. It is better for you to enter into the reign of Elohim with 1 eye than having 2 eyes to be thrown into the fire of Gehenna, where their worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. For everyone shall be seasoned with fire, and every offering shall be seasoned with salt. Now, I want to share something else with you, a little bit of an insight. Maybe some of you know that, but maybe some of you don't. This is not talking about just cutting off your hand or cutting off your foot because it's making you stumble, or plucking out your eye because it's making you stumble. This is talking about the body of Mashiach. The body has many different members. If one member is causing the other members to go to Gehenna, hell, because of the ways that they're teaching, the things that they're doing, get rid of them. Get them out of the congregation. They're not fit to be a part of the congregation because they are destroying the body of Mashiach. So if you have somebody that's teaching false doctrine, get rid of them. If you have somebody that's living in sin and causing others to live in sin also, get rid of them. Cleanse the body. That's why we take a bath, is to get our body clean. Well, as the body of Mashiach, we need to bathe regularly in the word of Abba Father Yahweh, in the word of Yeshua himself, to bathe and to wash and to be clean and rid ourselves of the filth and of the members that do not need to be members because they are making others stumble. Do you understand? I hope some of you got a little bit of a melt out of that. Okay. Oh, I thought that was last. Salt is good, but if the salt becomes tasteless, how shall you season it? Have salt in yourselves and be at peace among one another. Chapter 10. Oh, man. Guys, it's 1 minute till 8 o'clock. And this is the last chapter. You tell me, you want me to go on and read this, or you want me to go ahead and end it, and we'll just pick back up with chapter 10 next week. Amen, Milky Girl. Let's stay salty. It's up to you guys. It's going to make it about 10 or 15 more minutes. Yeah, me too, Cammy. I hate to rush through it. And that's exactly what I needed to say. That's confirmation to my Ruach. Let's not rush through it. Let's not rush through it. Michael Stroud says, read, Pastor. He just loves hearing me read. And I love you too, Michael. And I appreciate being with you the time that I'm with you, and hope to spend more and more time with you as time goes by. But I think in order for me not to be rushing this last chapter, chapter 10 is good. And so we don't want to rush it. So we will pick up with chapter 10 next week. I love all of you. I hope you enjoyed tonight. I hope you got something out of this. And I pray that Yahweh would continue always to nourish you with his word. Okay, it's asking me. I forgot I didn't go back to my Zoom with my screen. There we are. So, yay, we made it. I think that it's better if we pick up with chapter 10 next week. One of the things it says that is actually just politeness to your subscribers, and in this case, my subscribers are my mishpachah, but polite to your subscribers, let them know what to expect. And if I let them expect, we're going to run over every week. We're going to go 15 or 20 or 30 or 45 minutes over, or maybe even an hour over. If we plan on having a long meeting, and that's the plan, that's understandable. But if we say we're going to have about an hour, then let's have an hour. That'll be better. Yahweh will be pleased with that as well. Now, I love you each and every one. Shalom to each and every one. Shabbat Shalom for tomorrow. That's an early Shabbat Shalom. Tomorrow is Shabbat. And then Friday will be New Moon Day, according to Yahweh's calendar, if you follow that. And then the following week, all the rest of the month, the Shabbat will be on Friday. So Friday is not a Shabbat like the seventh day Shabbat. It is a Shabbat because it is a Kodesh day. It is New Moon Day, and that is a Shabbat in and of itself. So I love you and appreciate you. And guess what we're fixing to experience? Take it away, Alan.
I sing to Yahweh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he has thrown into the sea. Yah is my strength and song, and he has become my deliverance. He is my El, and I praise him, Elohim of my father, and I exalt him. Yahweh is a man of battle, Yahweh is his name. He has cast Pharaoh's chariots and his army into the sea, and his chosen officers are drowned in the sea of reeds. The depths covered them, they went down to the bottom like a stone. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, has become great in power. Your right hand, O Yahuwah, has crushed the enemy. And in the greatness of your excellence, you pulled down those who rose up against you. You sent forth your wrath, it consumed them like stubble. And with the wind of your nostrils, the waters were heaped up. The floods stood like a wall, the depths became stiff in the heart of the sea. The enemy said, I pursue, I overtake, I divide the spoil, my being is satisfied on them. I draw out my sword, my hand destroys them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them. They sank like lead in the mighty waters. Who is like you, O Yahweh, among the mighty ones? Who is like you, great in Kodeshah, awesome in praises, working wonders? You stretched out your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your kindness, you led the people whom you have redeemed. In your strength, you guided them to your Kodesh dwelling. Peoples heard, they trembled. Anguish gripped the inhabitants of Pelasheth. Then the chiefs of Edom were troubled, the mighty men of Moab. Trembling grips them, all the inhabitants of Canaan melted. Fear and dread fell on them by the greatness of your arm. They are as silent as a stone. Until your people pass over, O Yahuwah. Until the people whom you have bought pass over. You bring them in and plant them in the mountain of your inheritance, in the place, O Yahuwah, which you have made for your own dwelling, the Mikdash, O Yahuwah, which your hands have prepared. Yahweh reigns forever and ever.